Tulsa Music Stream. And now, your host, Scott and Jana Squires. You want the dirt? You've got it.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tulsa Music Stream. This is episode 96 and we'll be live here in just like 2 seconds with David Ellefson.
He is already here. Consummate professional, arriving early, not just on time. This is a good thing. I'm going to go ahead and put him on screen. Time is of the essence. We have a lot to cover. Good stuff that's going on with Mr. Ellefson. Dave, how are you doing tonight? Excellent. Let me get you unmuted. Okay, now you are rolling here. We have so much to cover with you. You are a busy, busy man. You have a lot of things going on, and we want to make the most of our time with you and let people know what you have going on. Let's talk about this Bass Warrior tour that you have just announced. Dates in Europe. Now, your website describes this as a captivating evening of cherished classics, deep cuts, and insightful storytelling from your illustrious career. Give us a little more insight into what these European fans can expect when they go to these dates.
Well, it's kind of like what I'm doing with Kings of Thrash. You know, I feel like there's a whole segment of the catalog of even my Megadeth past that, you know, hasn't been touched in a lot of years, right? So that's what we were doing with that. So that, you know, that coupled with what I did back in 2019 with a concept I called Bass Story, 2018 to 19 actually, where I went out and, you know, I sort of took a combination of a storyteller idea with a bass clinic, but then I put a real band behind me because I hate sitting there in front of an audience with a laptop, you know, like playing tracks, you know. I think that's just so not rock and roll, you know.
Right.
And, you know, I'd barely like it if I'm in a music store, you know what I mean? But
Sure.
it's because I'm not really a clinician probably in the truest sense. I'm a performer, you know,
Right.
and I like to perform in proper venues, and you know, as much as look, I'll always do what I'm asked, you know, for various things. But I prefer to be, you know, I'm a concert performer, man, and I like doing it. I've been a band guy, you know. I like a band around me. I like my buddies. I like having the feel of giving a rock concert. So, you know, Bass Warrior is probably a bit more of a concert than a storyteller evening, but it is also going to include that, you know. And as you can tell by the flags and the countries I'm in, how much stories I tell will depend on how well, you know, we can dialogue in English, because sadly that's my language. I don't know 14 languages for 14 different countries, unfortunately. So, I mean, I have a little time to go to school and learn this stuff, but
Sure.
you know, so there's a bit of an interaction, lag sometimes with, and I've done it with translators and stuff. So, I'm pretty, you know, adept at doing these kind of things in a lot of different settings.
Sure. Do you foresee an opportunity to bring that tour to the States at any point?
But, you know, possibly. I mean, you know, it's funny, you know, I have a lot of different bands that I've done and branded, and you know, the hardest thing about starting a new band, so to speak, is you go through the whole, well, who is it? What is it? What are you guys doing? What does it sound like? You know, you're starting every one of these, you start from scratch. When I put my name on the door, it's an easy sell because people already know probably what it's going to be, you know. And, you know, and with Bass Warrior, look, I've got some Ellefson solo records. I did the Ellefson Soto thing with Jeff Soto. Jeff's got Soto. You know, my guitar player, the musical director on this gig is Andy Martingelli out of Italy. He's fantastic. I mean, he always puts, you know, fantastic bands together for me. And sometimes with members, I've been in bands with him that he's put together for shows for me, and the band guys don't even speak English. So I have to go to Andy and go, hey, Andy, can you do a little more of this? And he'll go over and he'll speak in Italian to them. And I mean, 30 seconds later, it's fixed. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's really great. You know, I love working internationally. You know, like what I've been doing with Dieth, of course, you know, working in Poland, kind of half living in Europe, to, you know, make the record, do the touring, write the songs, and really, you know, be a part of I feel like the reason we like that music from over there is because they live it. It's like when you watch a Jason Bjorn movie. That movie wouldn't work in L.A.
Right.
It's better when it's over in some Eastern European country, and there's the nefarious thugs, or in some black van that pulls up and they throw everyone inside and everyone blows up, and there's sort of a romantic fascination about that I like, and I think music's the same thing. That it's music is relevant to its culture. For
sure. Before I hand it over to Scott, that leads perfectly into one of my questions I was going to ask you. America loves its metal, and we're hardcore, but man, overseas, it's just a different level. To what do you attribute their incredible passion and dedication to metal?
Well, if you think about the 20th century, and having just been in Detroit, for instance, I mean, it's the town that Henry Ford built, right? So, I mean, Henry Ford, there's a great book called The Roaring 2000s, and it talks about the three greatest inventions of all of mankind ever in the history of our, look, you could add the wheel. Okay, that's probably one. But this book starts with the Gutenberg printing press. First book they printed was the Bible in mass amounts. Henry Ford with the assembly line. And that's why America got industrialized faster than any other nation in such a short time, in like a century, even less than a century. We were so vastly far ahead of every other culture in the world because of, you could just do mass duplication, right? Yeah. And then, of course, the I guess in this case, the fourth one would be the internet, hence our conversation today, right. So those, I guess, probably those four inventions have changed the course of mankind, and so in America, the 20th century, I guess once you got past World War II, again, I guess for us, we had, of course, the Great Depression, but look, since the 50s, since Elvis came out, it's been all good times, right? I mean, It's been all hip swinging good times, rock and roll, baby. Right. Whereas in overseas, it's not the case. They've suffered, various political, financial oppressions, dictators, all kinds of things that, we have not known, in really the last century, almost, So I think a big part of it's like the blues, you can play the blues, but to really sing the blues, you gotta know the blues, yes. And, which is why the blues never connected to me. I've not lived those kind of blues. I mean, I lived it when I moved to LA and we started Megadeth, and I was dirt poor for a few years, but that's why we played heavy metal. I'm more into riffs and heavy metal. And that's why I think I like the Birmingham sound, Sabbath, Judas Priest, these things, because the riffage of that and that heavy darkness and the haunting sound of the riffs, that's my blues.
Edgy
for me,
riffs.
That's my blues. Yeah. So, when people talk about the blues, I get it. And it was the early underpinnings of rock and roll for sure, but it wasn't the underpinnings of my rock and roll. I don't think, for me,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
You spoke about being in Detroit, which you celebrated your 59th birthday, and happy belated birthday, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You spent it watching, of course, Metallica, and you felt like you have now are free to wear Metallica shirts again, and which is cool. That's why I went ahead and wore this shirt for this episode. And do you feel like
I should have worn mine? I have mine upstairs. I should have fucking worn my Metallica. Listen, I said that just kind of as a joke. In the other band I was in, you would not show up at soundcheck with a Metallica shirt on. I mean, trust me, and anyone who's been even close to that would understand. Sure. Certainly every band member would. Oh yeah, no, there's no fucking way you'd be wearing a Metallica shirt around there.
I was going to have me ask you if you feel like there's a new sense of freedom with this phase of your career.
Totally, 100%. And again, I don't want to go back into all that, but for sure, I feel a really a newfound liberty. And look, life moves in its various waves and tides and ebbs and flows, and and I've been here before, not playing in Megadeth, and I use these seasons of life as a way to really spread my wings and fly, man. It's like, and I mean, look, who I was in Megadeth, I was that because that's who I am. I mean, it's not like I was playing just a role, the somebody that I'm not. Now I take the cape off and suddenly I'm Clark Kent, outside of Megadeth. For those who are old enough to know Superman, that would be the Superman reference, right? But so I'm not, I'm not here to talk bad about it at all. But when you do move into a new season, and in this case, and I say season with that because that was most of my adult life as a member of that group. But now, and at this age, I guess, there's new horizons. There's new things to do, and I think one of the fears is like, like, what am I going to do? Or am I going to go? And honestly, I didn't have that this time. 20 years ago I did, in 2002 when the group broke up. It was like, oh shit, now what am I going to do? But, now at this point, haven't done the big four, won the Grammy, did all these big things. It's the legacy is secure. It's cemented. It's, my participation in that is forever, emboldened into the flames of heavy metal, if you will, so,
Sure.
now it's kind of just sort of enjoying life, and every day doesn't, I mean, I don't even play music every day, it's hard for me to just go to the beach and goof off for too long, but I'm starting to just kind of relax into that. There's other things I can do, that don't always have to be musically related either. And I say that as I was just practicing some songs, playing bass right before the interview. So, this is who I am, right? I mean, it's not like there's some other guy in the other room. I mean,
it's like you said, hello me, it's the new me,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say.
Well, you mentioned the Grammy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about.
And you're not done with that. Yeah, you got the Grammy with Dystopia, and you were nominated for 12 others, which I believe at least 10 of those should have gone your way.
Thank you.
But Appreciate you are nominated for 2 more, so you're not really done with those yet. And Dieth is up for 2 Grammys.
Yeah, Best Metal Performance for To Hell and Back, Best Rock Performance, Walk With Me Forever, which features you on lead vocals. I want to talk about that here in just a second, but the first thing I want to ask you, the Grammys have taken their lumps over the years, from rightfully so, from the rock and metal community. But nevertheless, this still has to be a prestigious honor. What does it mean to you to get 2 more of these nominations after the previous ones with your previous band?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, and so basically, there's several phases of how this goes. So the first phase, which is what we were included in with Dieth, is the acceptance, right? Because not everybody gets to just walk in the door of the Grammys, right? So there's this first phase. That's what we were. We were in the acceptance for the first round of voting to be nominated, right? I know that's kind of a mouthful to say, and we could only post specific verbiage of that they approved. We would have to write it, send it to them, and they'd say, no, not that, add this, add the little trademark next to the Grammy. So, I mean, the Grammys are very, very, very specific about what you can post. So, I don't want it to be, because they just announced the nominees that just came out this last week. And so we were accepted into the first round of voting. And out of that first round of voting come now the, best metal, Metallica, Ghosts, whoever else is in it. It's like, 5 or 6 people, right? Yeah. So, and obviously that is a very slim list of a pretty long list that we were in. But that long list that we were in, I mean, that's a thumbnail of the entire amount of fucking heavy metal songs that, were created this last year. So, it's like it narrows itself down more and more and more. And so we got to this last little mile where it's like, okay, you can come in, you don't come in, and so to get in the door of that is just, it's amazing. I mean, I've stayed on as a voting member of the Recording Academy, which is the academy that academy gives the Grammy Award. And yeah, they have asked, me specifically and they asked the guys in Mastodon, and I know some other people. I don't know who exactly, but they had asked us to stay on as after we won our Grammys to be part of the process, because they admit they have not gotten heavy metal right over the years.
Yeah,
they've but yet, say what you will about the Grammys. I mean, they are the Oscars, they're the Emmys of music, Right. So when you get invited to that dance, I mean, it's like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, they've taken their lumps too, but look, if they call and say, hey, we're nominating you, you go, you don't make a stink about it. It's like, it's like when, someone asks you to the prom, for me and Scott, we go by the little coronation rose. We get the tux, we go, right?
You bet.
Jenna, I guess for you, whatever. You buy the dress, you go, right? You don't go, well, let me get back to you. I got to check my options, see what else I'm doing on Saturday night. There might be a keg party I want to go to instead of the prom.
Right.
You go, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, at least that's how my parents raised me. You accept graciously, you go. So the Grammys are the same. It's the big dance, and when you're invited to go to the dance, you go to the dance, man. And you be part of it, and it's fun. I mean, it's the biggest thing going on in the world. It's kind of like being at Metallica last week. That was the biggest rock concert in the world last weekend. Twice it happened, Friday and Sunday. And that's fucking cool to be around, man.
It's fun.
And it's on record of Lars reaching out to Dave about you auditioning for that band Metallica years ago. Right. I know it never got far, or at least you never received that phone call, but at least he was, had at least enough respect to call and get some permission. But I've always wondered, what about the first time, like after Cliff? Was there ever any interest in you trying out for Metallica back then?
Well, it's funny about that. Lars, we had just signed to Capitol Records. We were actually doing some dates with Motorhead up at Oakland, Kaiser Auditorium, I think it is, in up there. And Lars was there. I remember the Rick Hunold, the Exodus guys, came down, and we had like some wardrobe we just got some money, right? So we bought some wardrobe lockers, some nice cases for all of our gear. And Rick Hunold was like, wardrobe cases for what? Your fucking stretch jeans? And like, he was laughing at us, like don't be pretentious, you guys. It's like, well, our tour manager said we should buy some road cases. Here we are. But Lars was there. He was obviously pretty beat up. This is not long after the bus accident. Kind of, maybe one of his first public appearances in his hometown of the Bay Area after Cliff had passed in the accident. And so there, I was just asking them, what they're doing, and so that obviously wasn't the time to have any conversation other than just what are you doing, how you doing, whatever, and yeah, he did call, and then fast forward to 2001, we just signed this big deal with Sanctuary Records. And we had The World Needs a Hero getting ready to come out, and suddenly out of nowhere, Jason, announces that he was departing the group. And he called Dave. Dave called me. He said, "Hey, just let you know, Lars called me and asked for my blessing if I guess I was on a list of contenders." I never did get the call, and I didn't. But it was the first time that I'd ever sat down seriously with a bass in my hand to dig into a few Metallica songs and just kind of go, all right. If the call comes, like, what is this? Just musically, what is it, right? Because I'm a fan of their music. I love their music. I think they're great. I admire. I mean, God, living in LA back in the day when we were, getting Megadeth off the ground. I mean, there's some, mandatory Metallica, Monday Night Metallica. I mean, they just ruled the airwaves, KNEC, and all these big, these they could just do no wrong, so and I like them, man. I think it's a great sound. Obviously, the Megadeth sound kind of is born out of a lot of the Metallica family tree, if you will, because of Dave being part of there. And so to me, they've been nothing but great friends to me, and so we've done a lot of shows with them over the years. 86, we did 85, 86, we did New Year's Eve together. San Francisco Civic Center. We did some dates with them on the Black album. Milton Keynes. We did a bunch of stuff in Eastern Europe with them. Obviously, we've done the Big Four.
Yes,
so we've been around each other a lot. As much as there's always this sort of this polarizing thing, kind of from Dave's side, I think probably more than anything. The truth of it is they've graciously and kindly always invited Megadeth back over the fence to their side to participate with them. So, I mean, how could you not love that? So yeah, nothing but love for those guys, and as they say, part of the Metallica family, so it's a good family to be a part of.
Yes.
We had Joey Belladonna from Anthrax on a few weeks ago, and we talked about the Big Four with him and got his his side on how things went. It's a big honor. I mean, it's huge. We'll probably never see anything like this again. I don't know if there will ever be a new Big Four, but
nope.
What are some of your memories of being? Go ahead.
It's what I said. I did a podcast with Johnny Christ the other day from Avenged Sevenfold. I went out to see Avenged because Dave's old tech, Willie G, was working for Johnny on the tour. And so he said, "Hey, you want to come out to Avenged Sevenfold?" I said, "I'd love to." So, and I'd met them a bit when Portnoy was playing with them. Always liked the band, so I like the group, and they've been cool guys, are huge Megadeth fans. And so I went out and hung out with them. And quite honestly, I felt very inspired after hanging out, talking to Johnny and talked to Matt for a little bit. And it was the day after he'd lost his voice. So his voice was coming back. And I've had that happen to me. I've had these desert allergies where literally I get laryngitis and I can't talk. Yeah. So I'm now relating more to singers, about singing. When Tobias came through, I was talking to James about it the other night, and got these guys who are like real professional career singers, and I'm just like, God, how do you guys do it, man? I mean, I've been singing in Dieth, and of course I do most of the press and the interviews, so I talk and I use my voice all the time, and it's. My voice has dropped down to a true baritone, on the piano. I'm a G2 to a G4. That's a true baritone there, and so I learned I've got to take care of my voice a lot more, and I do now. But it's so anyway. I kind of, I kind of hang with, I'm more drawn sometimes to what vocalists go through, because I'm newer at it than these guys are. But Brian, Sinister Gates is really a fantastic. I mean, he's just a musician's musician, yes. and to get to know him, and he has GIT in Hollywood and music school, and his dad is a professional musician. So I felt very inspired when I came home after hanging with those guys. I was like, I was taking a little bit of a rest from playing, letting my body just reset after the summer. We did a lot of touring. I went around the world a couple times, to Australia and back and forth to Europe a bunch. So I just kind of was letting my body just sort of rest and heal up a little bit. And so, but after hanging with the Avenged guys, I got the bug, so I started picking up my bass and ripping and playing. And, so it was fun to do that, that interview with Johnny the other day, because we did a 2-hour deep dive, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you guys were talking about endorsements and how the Rat guys would, if they had sponsors from I forget, it was Yamaha. They were getting like jet skis. It wasn't just guitars and equipment. They had like the whole brand. So that was a really cool
Johnny
podcast.
Was blown away. He goes, wait, let me get this straight. I said, believe me, in the '80s was a whole different fucking deal, man. I mean,
Hey, let me ask you something. We still need to cover Kings of Thrash and your coffee line. Sure. It is a hard stop at 4:30 your time. Is that correct?
Ish. Whatever,
well, okay, we're gonna roll.
As long as we have voices, now that I can speak as a singer.
Right
as long
on.
as I can, before vocal rest. That's a new term I've learned as a singer. Vocal rest. It's like but we're not doing that here, obviously.
Well, we are live, and we have people who are watching the interview, and they have some questions in the chat room.
Yeah, we're going to try.
Go ahead.
Let's go ahead and I want to real quick. Let's talk real quick about Kings of Thrash, and then we're going to get to the viewer comments. So, two shows coming up Thursday, December 14th at the Whiskey A Go Go, and that's in Hollywood, the famous whiskey, and then 2 nights later stages in Santa Ana. Now, for people who may not really understand what Kings of Thrash is, obviously the flyers say you guys perform songs from Killing Is My Business, Peace Sells, So Far So Good. Again, give us more insight. What can the fans expect at that experience?
So the first trip that we did this last year, we played Killing Is My Business and So Far So Good, So What in their entirety. The last show we did at the Whiskey back in October a year ago, 2022. We filmed it. We put it out on a DVD and as well as vinyl and CD and everything through Cleopatra Records. So we captured that moment. Chris Poland was our special guest. He would come up and perform a handful of songs with us as well. So we invited him back for the Whiskey, just kind of in the memory of last year's pretty iconic concert. I mean, the place was sold out. It was a thrash metal fest if there's ever been one. I mean, it was truly amazing. It was great. So, so that's what, that's what we're doing. It's just a couple of year-end shows. The phone rang when we got home from Australia back in July, and the Whiskey had called and they wanted us back for a year-end show. And so that's what we're doing. So we're just, kind of, wrapping up the year actually with a couple of cool shows this year.
And one more cool side note about those shows, you guys can pick up, you can get a VIP package if you go to kingsofThrashVIP.com. It features a t-shirt, laminate, early access, autographed meet and greet. What a deal. Check out KingsofThrashVIP.com and catch those shows for sure. Now, you are talking to two lovers. We got to talk about Ellefson Coffee. You guys can pick this up at EllefsonEmporium.com. Not only is coffee there, he's got guitar straps, accessories, art gear, books, bass string, jewelry, so much more. I got to ask you, if you have your pick of those 4 on the screen, what's your go-to?
I like Roast and Peace. You're talking the coffee, right?
You bet.
The 4 coffee. Yeah. And Kings of Thrash is essentially a Roast and Peace flavor profile. So the Napalm is a dark roast. It's a French roast. The Rock and Rose is a light. So, think like when you go to Starbucks or something, there's a light roast, a medium, and a dark, right? So, I like that because we don't do any decaf. The only person I've made a half calf for Jack Blades from Night Ranger. Jack Blades, of all people, he asked for a half calf. So I make him a half calf. And I wanted to make it for him and call it Half Jacked, right? Because he's pretty hyper anyway, right? And of course, they've got Dawn Patrol, the best coffee brand ever, right? So we could do a Dawn Patrol Night Ranger coffee. But so this year I just went down to see Night Ranger a couple weeks back, and I made some half calf for Jack. And I get there to give it to him. He goes, "Do you have any decaf?" I'm like, "Dude, come on, you're killing me here." It's like I made you half calf. Now you want decaf? So I guess he said publicly on stage, I guess he'd maybe had a heart issue or something. He's been so hyper for so many years that I guess he needed to slow down a little bit. So now I get maybe he needs he needs it, or he wants a decaf, but he's not even much of a coffee drinker anymore. But he's a sweet soul, that guy, Jack.
We're very looking out for your health and everything, and you've backed away from the sugars and the sweeteners and things like that, and I guess you just like it with black and 2 ice cubes. Is that correct?
I do. I mean, look, that's probably the purest way to drink it. I do like a little half and half in it, which is, again, now that I'm a singer, right? There's all this shit you got to ask.
All this new stuff.
All this new shit. You're like, wait a minute, I can't even drink anything bubbly at all. No sugar. It's like, man, you're killing me. Can't we get someone else to sing? Who else has got a voice around here? Life was so good before I became a singer.
Right.
But, and it's like, it's just, as we get older, we learn more about what this stuff does to our bodies, right? But it's funny, when I sat there and I created the coffee, there's a chef friend of mine here, John Paul Hutchins, and he ran for years. He ran the Cordon Bleu chef school, where they teach people how to become chefs. And so it's like a musician's institute, but for chefs, right? And so John Paul, he introduced me to my roaster, Expressions, who does all my roasting here in town. And it was really next level, because it was the finer art of coffee, and I sat there with him and Hannah, who had owned the company at the time. We sat there and she made these flavor profiles for, I guess, for what became Rock and Rose, Roast and Peace we already had. And we had, I don't know if we even had a dark roast at the time, but we sat there with him and he said, here, drink this with nothing in it, right? So I drink it and go, and I'm not a wine guy, so I never was and not today. But so I drink the coffee and, you kind of swish it around and you go, right in the flavor palette, and lightly smoky with a bit of cherry,
Yes.
And so, you drink it and you kind of go, okay, I get it. He goes, okay, now add your half and half, which you're familiar with, right? So I drink it and I go, oh, nice. And he goes, see, so that would go good with like a creme brulee. We move over to the next coffee. You go, oh, that's pretty dark. I can tell it's a little smoky. He goes, exactly. This would go good with like, say, a nice, a chocolate,
Wow.
a torch or something. He was flavor matching coffees to, say, desserts and things, because he thinks like a professional chef in a restaurant, right? So it was interesting to flavor profile things, not just like, dude, got a cup of Joe Bro, like that, but to really kind of get into the finer details. And it really made me appreciate Expressions, the level that they go to, for this. Now, the first coffee I created, Roast and Peace, was the guitar player from Between the Buried and Me. He and his wife had a coffee roasting business in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so that's what I first started the flavor profile with. And he had a really good Brazilian bean. And I've not been a big fan of some Brazilian coffees. And it's mostly because I was prejudiced years ago when we played Rock in Rio. In some of the earlier trips down to Brazil, I had cheaper Brazilian coffee, right? Probably the Robusta, which is grown at the lower altitudes. It's the cheaper commodity level coffee rather than the Arabica, which is grown at the higher altitudes. It's more expensive. It's harder to harvest. And that's where the nicer, better coffees are the Arabica stuff. So probably my favorite, if I had to kind of pick a flavor profile, like a Starbucks Sumatra is a pretty good basis if just the general public wanted to know my flavor profile of what I like. So Roast and Peace, we kind of angled it around that.
Okay.
As the centerpiece, right? So, but once we created it, we had it, right? Out of using these Brazilian beans. He sent it to me, and I defiantly tried every coffee he sent me, except that. I was like, all right, I'll try the Brazilian, And I was like, fuck, he's right. It's pretty good, So it was good. But once you get a coffee profile, it's like paint, right? Like if you're going to paint your room,
right.
You find a little swatch of paint, you take it down to Ace Hardware, or Home Depot, or your local paint store, Sherwin-Williams or whatever, and they match it, right? They use their paints, a little bit of their white and their browns and whatever, and they make sort of, it's funny, coffee white is the standard paint. That is the most standard used paint, at least here in Arizona, I should say.
Interesting.
Because we have, the colors that we have in the desert, right? So coffee white, of all things. So as I've moved to 3 different roasters, you basically take your beans from one roaster, you take it to the next one, they flavor profile it, and they go, and like in my case now, Roast and Peace is partly a Mexican coffee that Expressions has that's just extremely good, very tasty. And then they put a little bit of, I think, Ethiopian in it. So there's some Ethiopian, some Mexican, and they flavor profile it to get it to match, where it started from originally from that Brazilian bean that we originally started with. So just to keep a consistency, of, so that if I change roasters and you get a cup of coffee, you shouldn't go, what the hell? This doesn't taste the same, right? We want it to be the same, we want it to be every time you order it.
Well, I think everybody watching is going to pick some
coffee.
Up. Get your coffee. No doubt. Okay, we're getting towards the end here. Yeah. I have to squeeze this question in because this guy emailed us earlier in the week, and he's in here tonight. And, we're coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Tulsa Music Stream. So Jay North has a question for you. I think he's wanting to know if you remember this particular show in Tulsa. He says, "Hi, David. I was at your concert in 1994 at the Floating Amphitheater in Tulsa. That was the craziest show I've ever been to. People kept swimming across and jumping on stage and throwing things." That. You do. I think he thought you might. Yeah.
That is so funny. Tell him thank you for reminding me. I always remember that show, and I never remembered where it was. I couldn't remember if it was up in like Erie, Pennsylvania, or where the hell it was, So tell him thank you for reminding me. I forgot that it was there. I remember, we were there's like a moat around the stage.
That's right.
Uh-huh. And you know how headbangers are. They're like, fuck the water. We're coming over to see the band, Even if we get electrocuted and die, we're still thrashing till death,
That's right.
So I remember the fans getting pissed. In fact, I remember we played, this is when Chris Adler was in the band on Dystopia. We played our first, what are those called? When you play for the military, those it's not RSO. It's like we went to Richmond, Virginia, or whatever it was, and we went on the aircraft carrier, did the whole thing. It's a private thing that the armed services invite you to play, and so there's all the soldiers, being and they've been given the rules: no headbanging, no thrashing, no this, no stage diving. All the no, right? Like be proper military, right? And how do you fucking play Holy Wars for the military and not have them lose their mind or peace sells, right? I mean, this music is handmade for fucking riots, So, and especially for our soldiers to for soldiers to, fight on, do what they do, right? So we play, and the first couple songs, it's very square. It's like playing in church or something, right? It's very straight, and pretty soon after a while, one guy kind of throws a horn, and then two guys are, and then it's like, and then the next thing, the fucking pit breaks out. And I remember me and Adler looking at each other, just laughing, going, "Fucking hell, we did it again! Oh shit!"
Awesome.
So it's like. Yeah, we'll get thrown out of the armed services, for playing a concert.
Wow.
But because we had done some shows too. I remember, we played in Beijing, China, and we had to submit every song, every lyric, and every piece of video content because, same thing. They're like, there's some songs you can play, some songs you can't play. You can play this one, but you can't sing it because of the lyrical content. Mm-hmm. This one you can play and sing, but you can't use the video. And look, when you go to someone else's house, you play by their rules, right? So we were glad to play in Beijing, but, different society, different rules, different things. So you do it their way, and they had somebody back there with the iPad. There's literally a row of military standing in the back of the venue. Like, yeah, we ain't fucking around here, right? And
wow.
Dude with the iPad sort of checking it in, and the video's on, I'm going to check. Singing, I'm going to check, So... it's we've been in these countries where you realize, we ain't in Kansas anymore, or Tulsa in this case, and you do it their way. That's all I can say. So.
Doug Weber in the chat room, he's asking if there's any new changes or updates coming down the pipeline with your signature Jackson bass.
We have talked. I think I have 16. SKUs, as we call it, right? SKUs, right? SKUs with them, between 4 strings, 5 strings, white, black, silver, red Kelly birds, blue Kelly birds. We've got a lot of products that we have, and it's fortunately, it sells very well. And, I've been very proactive. I go out when I do the stage use thing, which I learned from Paul Stanley. And I told him that. I said, Paul, I learned how to do this from you. Me and Kiko were backstage in St. Paul, and we were looking at Paul's website of Paul and Gene of how and he said it was Paul Stanley guitars. So I bought David Ellefson basses. I also have David Ellefson guitars in case I want to sell stage smash guitars, which I think that's where the real money is, by the way, is in that. But it's again, I'm a student of KISS. I learned a lot of what I've done from them, and so I was happy to tell them that, and but playing stage use instruments is a big part of this, Yeah, there we are.
There you are. Hey, that's great.
I mean, come on.
We had it all set up and ready.
Yeah.
That's not any better than that. Come on.
No,
those guys are so gracious and so cool, but, with the basses, it's the same thing, to play them. And I don't charge a ton of money, I try to keep mine very fan friendly, it's more about people being able to have the experience and play them. And, obviously Jackson's happy because more and more people have my basses out there.
For sure.
I like it.
Well, one more question. Ryan Kirk in the chat room says, question for Dave, whose idea was it on the Reckoning Day intro with the floor tom?
That was my idea. And, it's funny, where I got that idea from is in, let's say, 1981-ish, 82 maybe. I went to go see Rainbow, and Jolynn Turner was the new singer. The support act was Pat Travers, and the opening band was Crocus. Now, this is a couple of years before their big, Headhunter.
Yeah, love that album.
Success, right? So they were still kind of an unknown band doing first of three on the bill. And the bass player, who was stage left next to the drums, when it came time they didn't do a drum or a bass solo, they did one together. And he grabbed a set of drumsticks and did this rototom solo, kind of looking right at the drummer, right, at his hi-hat side. They did like a rototom solo. And I think I've seen Matt and Duff from Guns N' Roses do that recently, or, not recently, but in years past. But that's where I first saw that. I thought, that's fucking cool, man. And that's why on the Euthanasia tour, I thought, I'll do the same. I'll have the floor tom out there. I'll be looking at Nick. Now I'm stage right? So I kind of turned and looked at Nick this way and did the floor tom thing. And when we did the bass and drum solo, I wanted Nick to be playing with me, because I think a bass solo is more interesting if it has, some rhythm to it, right? Something kind of driving it, So as the joke goes, when the drums stop, very bad bass solo. I don't know if you've heard that joke about the guy in the jungle, the drums are playing.
Right.
And the tourist goes, why are the drums playing all the time? And the native goes, drum stop, very bad. Next day, drums are still playing all night. And the tourist goes, why are the drums playing? Still. And he goes, oh, drum stop, very bad. Third day, finally, he asks, he's like, these drums are driving me crazy. Why are they always playing? And the local goes, drum stop, very bad. Bass solo. And so keep the drums going was the point of the joke, right? So, there's a couple of great live albums that I kind of copped that idea from. I guess, again, it's partly from Crocus. The Journey has a live album called Captured that I used to listen to back in the early 80s. And when Ross Valerie does his solo, Steve Smith is also playing. And also on Angel Live Without a Net with Felix Robinson on bass, when he did his bass solo, I seem to remember there was a drum thing around that. I remember I copped some licks and some kind of vibe, not licks, I shouldn't say, but I kind of copped a little vibe from Felix. And Felix and I have since become good friends, actually. We text often, and we were actually just talking last week. So I know there's an Angel reunion coming up here. So
that'd be cool.
Yeah. So me and Felix are buddies, and he's kind of a childhood hero of mine. Because they were on Casablanca. Stars, Kiss, Angel, The Gods. They were the big Casablanca bands.
You sound like you're a big rock fan, like a lot of us. You did a lot of your homework, and probably collected a lot of records and albums and things, and
For sure.
followed all your heroes, man, just like us. That's so cool.
Yeah, and our friend Neil
Yeah.
Parks reminds us that the military event term we were searching for earlier was USO.
USO. Thank you.
So
Thank
that
you. Thank you.
that
Thank you.
is
Thank you.
it. Well, you have
Appreciate
been
that.
very gracious with your time. Thanks for going over with us a little bit. I'm gonna leave you with one last very nice viewer comment. I think this sums it up for all of us. John McNatt says, David, you have been a big influence in my musical career. Thank you, sir, and I'm so glad you are here and doing so well, looking great. I think we all agree with that so much. So, guys,
you.
make sure
Appreciate
you
that.
support Dave and all his efforts with Dieth, Kings of Thrash. Get some of that coffee. I know we're going to. Can't wait to try those out. David Ellefson, thank you so much for your time tonight. Thanks for joining Tulsa Music Stream. Have a great night.
You're welcome, guys. See you later.
Thanks,
All right,
buddy. We'll
take
see
care.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
That was cool.
Nice guy.
I felt like he would have gone on for a little bit longer, but we don't want to push him.
Well, can I tell you why I try to be super respectful of that?
Well, sure.
Because when the publicist sets the rules, right? And you don't want to make the publicist upset because you
Future.
want to have future interviews.
Absolutely. Oh, I get it.
So trying to be respectful. You guys had other comments in there. What we typically do after we sign off with these guys is we send the publicist, or sometimes if we're dealing directly with them, we send them the link to the interview. And sometimes, they may go back in there and check out your comments. So please don't feel like your comments go unseen. We go back and read them and try to give you some love on that. We appreciate you guys so much for tuning in and watching this show. We're having such an amazing time doing it, and
And we appreciate all the stars that you guys sent. Thank you,
guys.
Elizabeth Talcott and Scotty Scott. Thank you so much for the stars. Neil Parks. Thank you so much for sending those to us. That helps in so many ways.
It does.
Unbelievable.
It does. And Scott, I know you get sad when I don't utilize all the cameras, so let's real quick utilize the cameras since we bought them. Okay.
All right.
There's yours. Yeah. Okay, ready? And then the sucky one sits over here.
Oh no, it's actually
And-
kind of cool because you
No.
can go there when you're reading.
No.
Like it looks so
No.
cool. Like if you're answering someone's
No.
message or something,
Not so much.
you
But
can look them right in the eye and say, "No, dude, you're wrong."
If only I could see into their eyes. And then we've got this fan chat screen. Oh, with that crappy side view. Hey, there's Neil Parks. Love and miss you both. We love you too. Garrett Eugene, so awesome. Glad you enjoyed that. We did too. That was freaking amazing. John McNatt, Tim Kroger, Scotty Scott, you already mentioned him. It's good to see all you guys in here. Jay North, Ryan Kirk. I'm glad we got you guys' questions
Yes,
in there.
please make sure you share our Facebook live stream on your Facebook pages, your Facebook groups, all your favorite stuff. Tag some friends, tell them about it. All your rock and roll friends. We are also on YouTube, and you can always hit the notification bell on YouTube, Tulsa Music Stream. And please, you can share, hit like on those as well. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We are over 800 now, and we are hoping to get to 900 soon. And then we'll be on our way to 1,000. We're also almost to 100 episodes. I think we're actually probably technically already done 100 ones, but she was like naming them like special event. She wasn't giving them a number.
Those don't count.
And I thought they counted.
That was probably when we came on here and said, "Hey, we moved into the new studio."
No,
that doesn't count.
No, not those.
Oh, well.
I think we did one with it was Glenn Hughes, but he didn't show up. And
Did I not number that?
I think it was like it was like a noon thing, so it was like a special episode.
So our count is bogus.
It-
So God knows how many we've done.
But we are also on Twitter. We are at TOL Music Stream, and we are on Twitch. We don't necessarily do much on Twitch there. I don't get it. I don't know how to get people and followers and people like that. So I kind of ignore that one.
We don't know what we're doing.
But anyway, we are also on audio platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon. We are also on, I believe it is Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You can really just search Tulsa Music Stream Podcasts, and then 100 different ones will pop up. And hopefully it might be one that you guys are listening.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And hey, we've got to mention our sponsors because honestly, guys, the show wouldn't be what it is without these folks' contributions. Psychomo Filmworks, he did a wonderful intro for our show. If you guys need a video shot for your band, go to him and he'll hook you up with a good product. Psychomo@gmail.com. DEB Concerts. Everybody loves Doug Burgess and everybody appreciates Doug Burgess because he makes sure that Tulsa and the surrounding area continues to get great concerts in our area. We are so lucky to have Doug and DEB Concerts. Stay in touch with that website. Keep an eye out for upcoming dates that are sponsored by debconcerts.com. We know that they're the reason Rocklahoma is such a good time all the time. Okie PC, this guy's amazing. We love him even though he's an Eagles fan. We still love him. Dustin Little, if you guys have any IT needs, boy, we had a scare before we went on tonight. Our modem was down, but we got it back up. But go to Dustin Little for your IT needs, practical technology and networking services for Oklahoma's local business community, 918-640-0892, or email him at dustin@okiepc.com. These guys, man, they just continue to crank out amazing work. I saw more great photos they've done on Facebook today. Your branding done right. Go get you some really great looking photos done by the Shipmans. Go to shipmanphotos.com. Our buddy Todd Cook at Identity Merch, he is staying so busy doing screen printing, and that's because he puts out quality product. If you need some t-shirts or anything else printed up, call 918-521-5660 or email Todd at identitymerch.com.
All right. So cool. Yeah, we should sing those like commercials. You know something funny we did the other night? Identity Merch, Facebook.com/Identity Merch.
That was awful.
I know.
We did
something. It was supposed to be awful.
It was. Good job. We did something funny the other night. Every night we go check our subscribers. Now watch, we're going to lose subscribers because I'm saying this. So, we've got our running count. Like, we got real excited when we broke 800, and then it got up to 810, and then we go back the next day, 809. We're like, oh, dang, who'd we piss off now?
No. And then 2 more came in through the night.
I know.
So
it was
good.
812 last night.
But, yeah, we are getting close to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we can't wait.
What's on the docket? What are you working on that you haven't told me about yet? Anything fun?
No, but I will be, hopefully we'll get on, send this out to some of the music news sites and this interview gets picked up. We are on Instagram as well. Tulsa Music Stream is. We also do our TikTok videos on there. Yeah. And then we also put out shorts.
You do.
YouTube shorts on our YouTube page, and go and check those out and hit like on those as well. Every little thing, every view, every little thing you do with your fingers on your, it all helps. Everything.
Good sound effects there. That was nice. And hey, seriously, guys, I know this was an early one tonight. If you got in halfway, or maybe you're just getting in now, you got to go back and watch the replay. This was a good one. He's a very intelligent, kind guy. And, I wanted to get into just how well he has diversified his talents within the industry. He's written books. Wanted to talk about his book. Maybe we can get him back on at some point.
Yeah. Well,
I hope he liked
We appreciate each and every one of you. It's the weekend. Go have some fun. Go support your local music scene, your Tulsa music scene, your Tulsa music stream, and we'll see you guys. Yeah.
Real quick, Billy Hamilton, you're in Switzerland. That's awesome. Hello. I don't know what time it is over there. Hello. We appreciate you watching. It's good to hear from you. Guys, take care. And hey, we need to tell everybody happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Yep. I don't think we're going to do another episode till after the holiday, Thanksgiving, and we'll see what we have in store.
We'll cook something up for you. Okay.
But we're going to take a little break and chill out and relax a little bit. So you guys enjoy your holiday, and we love you guys, and we'll see you back soon. Thank you guys.
Love you guys. Have a great night.